today's route. They've already been in the saddle for more than 4 hours. It seems a bit unkind, and indeed it starts to get a bit rude later on. We will be passing through a place called Montifalco, I beg your pardon. Just didn't want to get that wrong. There is a climb at it which we take twice, and it maxes at 18%. That's no joke. This is the little circuit we're on at the moment. We come in at 6 o'clock. Bear with me. The finish is at 12 o'clock. There, you sort of see it now. So we do, when we enter the circuit, we do 3/4 of a lap, then a full lap, and then we go round the little loop at the end to finish. Sounds complicated. We'll guide you through it as we go. Wow, it's narrow too. That's why they all wanted a piece of it. And now they're clear of it. That's 16%. So that was that little kicker that you've just seen. They'll have to come back and do the climb that we saw a little bit earlier on, but that was a nasty moment.
It certainly was, but the rider in the green jersey of the leader of the King of the Mountains is wearing it because it's actually belongs to Zdeněk Stybar, is David of Cannondale. So swapping the green of his own kit to the green of the King of the Mountains jersey, but I think they've already crested that climb by the looks of things, and now they've got the plummet down, about 3 k's downhill, and they've got 4 k's approximately of flat before they start the final climb of the day. One they've of course already seen, scanned, got it dialed in. Where will the attacks come?
To me, Matt, that was the more difficult of the 2 climbs that we're dealing with today. At least they've got in their head what Montifalco is like, but the Travi Innesto, it was narrow, gnarly, lots of turns within it, far more technical than the final climb. Check this out. This is our aerial shot.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see which of the riders went down, and if there was a touch of wheels. Just looks like the wheels went out from underneath.
Yep.
And sometimes that happens, although the roads are dry. The roads are very, very smooth, and sometimes you get that dust, a little layer of dust just on the top, which can be very slippy. And I think that's what we saw, 10 or 15 k's ago, when on that that tight left-hander, several riders went down there too.
Do you know one of the worst surfaces I've ever come across on a bike is polished marble, as in old marble cobbles. Get it in places like Portugal, etc., market squares and the like, and they rattle because they've got a heat expansion within them, and it takes nothing to make them incredibly skittery. Not nice. There you go.
Well, there we go. Andre Amador went over the top of that one, the rider we're talking about. Oliveira second, Portuguese, and then Alejandro Valverde, so not really contested. I did see Vieira start to move up, but didn't have enough space to take the points over the top. But a really infernal pace was being set there by Movistar, and I think we'll probably see them take it up on the next climb. They look to be riding with real intention now, and I think they'll use up a couple of their riders on the first part of the climb. Then it drops down, and then we have the last 3 k's. And who are the riders that are going to manage to stay in contact?
It's going to be a 6-hour day, this.
It's going to be a very, very long day.
Yeah. They started, 9:15 local time. And we're going to be heading to about 4:15 local time, so 3:15 in the United Kingdom. Portugal Island, anyone else who shares the meridian, so to speak. 26.5 k's to go then, into sunshine. We've got away with the weather, it appears, today. It looks like the front is just elsewhere, but still quite a bit of riding to do, and I reckon we've got half an hour.
Yeah, definitely about half an hour, 35 minutes of racing still to go. Obviously the pace and the average speed always picks up a little bit on these descents, but that nagging headwind they've had for the vast majority of the day has really knocked down the average speed. But again, all the breakaways now mopped up. Movistar at the head of affairs, just taking it steady around these bends, although it's very, very dry. Just making sure that the riders stay upright. You can just see Vincenzo Nibali in a really good position, sat at that 8th or 9th wheel, looking very, very comfortable. TJ Van Garderen in BMC and Edvald Boasson Hagen, so all of the GC contenders up in the mix at the moment.
Well, we're on wide open highway, and this is not going to suit everybody, to be honest. When you've got a constant transition of road surfaces, and you see there's one coming right now, wide open highway, this late in the day, you're going to be, well, you're open to the elements essentially, and this is not great. This is a chase back on, and you're essentially time trialing at moments like this, and it's hard if you get disengaged to get back in, isn't it?
There's a bit of a whiplash effect. You could just see, I think it was William Bonnet of FDJ. They went into that corner pretty well, and it looked like they just managed to latch on to the back of the peloton, but then as the peloton accelerated away and there's that differential in the speed, they were detached again by that whiplash effect. Believe you me, I've been in that position on many occasions, and it's absolutely mortifying. But again, now the speed has just dropped off a little bit. Riders looking around just to check where their teammates are, and that will give an opportunity for those riders that were struggling a few moments ago to get back in contact. And now it's Oscar Gatto on the front of the peloton for Tinkoff.
He's done a lot of work lately, and he's had a good start to his season, hasn't he, Oscar Gatto?
Yeah, Gatto's been riding really strongly indeed. It's actually, I think it might be Boaro as well who's there. But no, Gatto took a superb stage win in the Volta a Andalusia earlier in the year. Bit of a surprise, and just beat Ben Swift to the line. Where Ben Swift, I think, took the leader's jersey, but a real good start to the season for Tinkoff. Of course, Alberto Contador took a fine stage win in the Volta Algarve. And there's Danny Bernardi now moving to the front as well.
They're properly assembling, aren't they? This is for Peter Sagan, one can only assume. And we'll wait to pick up on the rainbow jersey. He's still looking for that win in the rainbows.
Oh, look at
the
that
highest level.
Look at that pain face there.
Actually, did not
that
look
was Hugo
happy.
Hugo Hull just managing to get back on.
Maybe he should have put the 13 number on upside down. Gosh, they're not really going that fast. Not quite sure what we were dealing with there. It looks like a little bit of... That was supposed to be a replay of something.
I think there was a near miss there, wasn't there?
But in the end, I think it was a Benny Hill moment it turned out to be. We're going to take ourselves a brief commercial break, and then we'll be back with that nasty climb. And of course, our run for home. It'll be exciting. Back in a moment. It's raining on the hills, and it's hell for leather, as you can see on your screens right now. It's been a busy day on this stage 4 of the Tirreno-Adriatico. This was always supposed to be the day where it was a heartbreaker. Well, we didn't think when we looked at the profile that that's what was being offered up, but 4 riders decided to go for it. They were in the breakaway. It's now been wound in. We're on our final circuit, and more than that, we're about to take on Montefalco again. They've already seen it once. They know what's coming, and that's the reason why road position is absolutely vital. This is the approach to the climb that matters today. It peaks in around 5 kilometers time. Most of that is taken up with the climb itself. BMC want a piece of it. Trek Factory Racing want a piece of it as well. So do Movistar, of course. That's for Valverde. TJ Van Garderen has got to think that he has to keep up where he needs to be. Cancellara looks like a monster. There he is, just on the right-hand side of your screen. Why not him? Sagan's in the red jersey. It could be him today. Of course it could. Likewise, Nibali, others with options. Maybe some quick men may be dragged up there. We could have some surprises. What's for sure is it's going to be so dramatic. There is a double tooth to this final climb, and somebody is going to get bitten. First test, 16%. Second, 18%. That goes on for the majority of the last couple of kilometres of the climb up to Montefalco. And then, and only then, can you start thinking about the run for home. It's brutal. The pace today has been, well, modest. Personally, particularly I should say, because of the wind. There's storms in the area. There's been lightning strikes locale, knocked out some pictures. Let's hope that nobody else gets hurt today, because we've had a few dodgy moments as well on the approach. Broken road surfaces to deal with, some narrow pinch points. It's not safe, but it is dramatic. And I cannot wait to see how this one pans out.
This is very interesting. We just saw a few moments ago while you're going through the profile of the climb, Carlton, a rider of the calibre of Alex Dowsett swinging off and moving back down the line. The speed to the approach of this final climb today, absolutely infernal. Fabian Cancellara there on fine form has put the race in the left-hand gutter. The rider in third wheel is their GC protagonist. Jasper Stuyven is second wheel. They've got Volker Mollema into an absolutely ideal position at the base of this climb. Peter Sagan is there, Edvald Boasson Hagen. You can just see Michał Golasz on the left-hand side of Poland, bringing up Michał Kwiatkowski and Wout Poels for Team Sky. This is going to be a sensational final climb on stage 4 of Tirreno-Adriatico today.
They've been in the saddle for, well, approaching 5 hours. In 20 minutes they'll be at that point. Well, they may well come home feeling like they have been brutalized. Let's find out. In fact, 6 hours, I beg your pardon. That's the blue jersey group, our leader for the time being. But will Stybar be in that position late on today? There's going to be gaps, and they're already starting to open up. There's plenty off the back, and also lots of talent to the fore.
Well, Fabian Cancellara, we saw him. He's got 3 race wins already this year. You know, the way he won Strade Bianche just a week ago was mightily impressive. They're on the first initial ramps of the Monte Falco climb. Then there's a little bit of respite, but the rider still at the head of affairs, tearing this peloton to shreds at the moment, is Fabian Cancellara. Did see Zdeněk Stybar of Etixx Quickstep in the blue jersey of leader of this race. Moving up on the outside, there's Vincenzo Nibali also there. Reinhard van Rensburg is also there for Dimension Data in the white jersey. So some real jostling for position now. This is that short descent of about 800 metres or so, Carlton, before it really starts to kick up again.
Well, it could be every man for themselves, but Reinhard is looking after, at the moment, Edvald Boasson Hagen. They've kind of been watching each other for a wee while. I guess relaying, it's anybody's to guess as to who's going to be the chosen man for them with Dimension Data, but we mentioned it earlier on that they were certainly in the frame. And there is Eddie Boss, as you can see. That is Reinhard Janse van Rensburg just in front of him with a big black Q upon his back. Question is, who from this group, though, is going to have what it takes at the end? You're going to have to be strong, you're going to have great reserves, and you're going to have to be quick.
Well, another rider we've not mentioned too much about that I forgot to highlight on my sheet, which is a bit of a crime, is Thibaut Pinot, the young Belgian sensation. He's also in the mix there, just on the inside, sat on the wheel of Greg van Avermaet. There's Reinhard Janse van Rensburg just moving up on the outside. What a talent he is.
Amazing.
The South African rider just come off the back of winning the overall at Tour Langkawi, but still Fabian Cancellara is on the front. Jasper Stuyven still stuck to his wheel, and on the inside Bauke Mollema took a fine second place in the Ruta del Sol, or third place on the general classification of Ruta del Sol. Looked very, very relaxed and confident ahead of today, looking strong. He's in a good position too.
So it's Peter Sagan. He wears number 1, as you can see. Rainbow jersey covered up by the red jersey, because that is what he is wearing, in leader of the points classification here at this race, and just embedding themselves in the mountainside. This is the back of the peloton. A lot of talent down here, and some of it really being bitten. That was Hollenstein just going backwards. He's in good company. Plenty of very good riders here. And Fabian Cancellara, I am wondering whether this is Fabian's. I think he's leading in his teammates, doing a team job today. He's had so much success throughout his career. Why not just help some others to help themselves? Let's see how he goes.
It is mightily impressive. Van Rensburg now swings up, looks across to the rider in the centre of your screen in orange is the oldest man in the race, number 44, Davide Rebellin of CCC Sprandi Polkovice. But Paul Van Rensburg now sliding back down the punch. Still Fabian Cancellara drives this group clear. Riders dropping off the back at 6s and 7s. Still impressive riding there by Jasper Stuyven, the winner of Kuurne Brussels. Kuurne sat in second wheel. There's Eddie Boss, Edvald Boasson Hagen in the jersey of Norwegian champion. Just on his inside, Vincenzo Nibali, the Italian road champion for Astana.
Interesting as well. Bert de Backer is the man, is one of the survivalists. Just looking as well for Cannondale here. They've got Simon Clark, who is in the frame. Good to see the Australian as well, still knocking it out on moments such as this. There, Edvald Boasson Hagen with the Norwegian flag upon his back, sacrificed himself again. Reinhard Janse van Rensburg. When's he going to get some payback from Eddie Boss? Possibly at Milan San Remo. We'll wait and see. Apparently that's on the cards. We'll see. Nibali just holding station at the moment. He's been up towards the 4, but never on the point. Great place to be, and of course he's following some great riders, and Fabian Cancellara is doing a monster turn. He has thinned out this field remarkably so.
That was interesting then. The rider on the left-hand side, Wout Poels of the Netherlands for Team Sky. He was riding up the outside of the bunch. He's got Puccio on his wheel, just emptying his water bottle, just trying to lighten the load. There's not going to be much drinking needed in the last 15 Ks of this race, so just making sure he's as efficient as possible. Still quite a few riders in the mix. Alejandro Valverde there, but just shows the form of Fabian Cancellara driving this group clear. Remember, there's some really good, decent riders. This group now reduced to about 40 or 50 riders. Ominous form ahead of the Cobble Classics.
I think Perazzi is actually in good shape as well for Bardiani in this group. I may be mistaken, but 16.5 to go. And Cancellara is the man who has caused the great selection on this day. I don't think it's going to be him going for victory, but don't be surprised. He's led from the front. In fact, when he was brutalising the cobbles a couple of years ago, he was doing it in this sort of style, just imposing himself and almost choking off the opposition and then just kicking on again. He was the master of finding that second breath, wasn't he?
He certainly is, but look what he's doing as well. He's just giving enough room for Bauke Mollema to get on the inside and be sheltered from the wind, but he's forcing all of the riders over to the left-hand side, so it makes it harder. If you ride on the side, the riders then, if you ride to the right when the wind's coming from the right-hand side, you give the opportunity for riders to get the slipstream, get out of the wind. But what he's doing is the right thing, making it very, very hard. But I thought quite a few more riders would have been dropped. We've still got a sizable bunch here, Carlton.
Steve Cummings at the back, meerkatting as usual, just wondering whether to make his move. Francis de Gea also getting into the mix. And Reichenbach is here, and Thibaut Pinot as well. And just Reichenbach, I think it is, that's just guiding Pinot. Or maybe it's the other way around from this distance, can't quite tell. 16.1 kilometres to go. They will peak at 14.9, so we're nearly there. They've about 1,200 metres to go before they get to the crest, and then a very select group will start essentially punching for glory. Now, our approach, Matt Stevens, this is they haven't actually seen the approach, and it's not that technical, so it's going to be a very, very pacey finish, isn't it?
It is. It's, well, after the descent of this climb, there's going to be about 10 kilometres to go, but essentially flat, very wide open roads. And on the approach to the city, not an overly technical finale. The last kilometre, in fact, only has a couple of gentle sweeping bends, so nothing too technical. But again, given this group is quite big, although there's still several riders dropping off the back, we're going to have a group of about 35 to 40 riders. There's Michele Scarponi just moving up on the outside with Nibali just on his inside, making sure he's keeping Nibali out of the wind. Some great work there by the veteran climber from Italy. But who's going to drive this group on the flat? That's going to be interesting. Will we see riders trying to take their chances? Because if there's no real willingness to drive this group on after the efforts on the climb, we could see several riders getting back in contact and quite a large group going to the finish.
Look how many Cannondale riders have made it over here. Simon Clark is here. Formolo is here. Haven't seen Rigoberto Urán, but don't be surprised.
This is Diego Ulissi just going clear for Lampre Merida, taking the points at the top of the climb, looking pretty composed and comfortable. I don't know if that was an attack for the stage win to try and split it, but he does look very, very composed at the moment.
We saw him earlier on, did we not? And pushing off as well, it's Pozzovivo who just takes his diminutive frame to the fore. Nibali not panicking just yet. He's got an outrider, as you can see, just guiding him up, and they haven't really reached out to grab Ulissi, but the big closing is being done right now by Poels. He doesn't want this to get away, to skittle away from them so late on. 15.5 to go.
He does. I think it's Salvatore Puccio just on the wheel, just closing that gap. Wout Poels isn't too far behind his teammate. So Ulissi, Puccio.
Here he goes, just leaning into the curve. Now, Ulissi's local, don't forget. I thought it was a couple of days ago that he was going to have his fun. Maybe this is his time, but I think with the way he's being marshalled, it's a very, very tall order. What Cancellara put in, what he invested there on behalf of his team, do you think that strikes him out today?
Well, again, it's difficult to say. I think he'll want to stay with his team leader. You can just see Bauke Mollema about 7th or 8th in line. Can't see Fabian Cancellara at the moment. I'm sure he'd like to stay as long as he can with his team leader.
Eddie Boss is in there, well and truly. And he's hidden well, hasn't he, Eddie Boss?
He certainly has. This is a very,
Sagan too. Red jersey's just coming to the fore right now, and he's checking everybody out. This is the big stare down.
Well, it's important that you know who's there, because that's if you can't just sit at the front of the group and not take into account the riders that are there. That's why we're seeing riders constantly looking around, looking into riders' faces too, sensing who's got their good legs and who's struggling, but also looking at how many riders have teammates around them, making an assessment, making a tactical kind of judgment call on how the last few Ks of this race are going to pan out.
TJ Van Garderen not tempted to join Ulissi at that point. He came straight by him, but he's very much to the fore. He's just on the back wheel of Vincenzo Nibali at the moment in the red and black of BMC. Nibali, of course, the Italian champion, in the pale blue of Astana. Our leader is also here, and indeed plenty of others with an option. And I believe that Reinhard Janse van Rensburg has made it back in. Wow, 15 Ks to go.
Well, this is what I thought would happen. This is now where there's an opportunity for somebody to try and go clear on their own. No cohesion in this group at all at the moment.
Well, you have to send an outrider, and Valverde has got perhaps a great man to do exactly that. In fact, we're missing the attack as we look at Ulissi doing it again. That's history. Plenty of others have just rolled with the punches. This is the chase down that we saw just a few moments ago as well for Team Sky. And there is the response coming from Domenico Pozzovivo from AG2 Alla Mondiale, with the brown shorts going away with it. Astana, of course, being paced. Michele Scarponi working for Nibali and doing a great job. And this is a danger because out of sight, not out of mind, of course, but certainly maybe out of range. We'll see. 14.8 to go. This is potentially a winning move, and they're trying to mark it out. You can see the chase down just behind.
You can indeed. It's a rider from Agitazara, as you can see, flanked by Movistar, but the chase being led by Dimension Data at the moment. And Team Sky, Walt Pauls there, sat in second wheel. On his wheel is Peter Sagan in the red jersey of points leader of this race. He's closely followed by Michele Scarponi just behind.
It's not Steve Cummings, is it, that's come to the fore after all that time at the back today, just taking life easy. We'll get a...
does look like Steve Cummings,
looks
actually.
a bit like him. He's been a heartbreaker in the past. He's just taken it so easy at the rear, Steve Cummings. If it's him, and we haven't got a positive identification on him at the moment, it certainly looks like him. He's wrestling into this climb. Don't be surprised if he steals another one. This could be a beauty.
I think what Steve Cummings will do now, given they've got a couple of riders in that move, is try his best to keep this together for a group sprint, because that Edvald Boasson Hagen is there, and that's the best chance of trying to get a victory. Peter Sagan is there as well. There's another couple of fast men. Greg van Avermaet definitely in the mix, but the pure sprinters are definitely missing from this group, and I think it is Steve Cummings just trying to bring these two riders back at the moment.
Steve-O, if that's you, you're scaring everybody, mate. He does this, he bides his time, and then absolutely goes for it. Strangulation tactics. Ulissi, Pozzovivo, Nibali over that climb, 5-3 and 2 at that point. 14.2 to go. Big approach, big turn in. Just hexagons the corner, as you can see, and job done if this is all work for Eddie Boss, who there he is just on the left-hand side of your screen with the Norwegian flag upon his back.
Definitely, yeah. Also see Peter Kenyak, the British champion, moving up the outside. Very distinctive in that white jersey with the red, white and blue bands on it. So quite a sizable group here, Carlton. What do you reckon? About 40, 45 riders in this lead group. But the important thing now, or the critical thing now, will there be teams that are willing to sort of get together and relay on the front to continue the momentum that was established, of course, by that incredible turn of power by a Fabian Cancellara? Because at the moment, this is at 6s and 7s. Nobody is really deciding to take up, well, not the chase, but the efforts to try and keep this group moving.
Well, this descent will go on for another 3.5 kilometres, and it's time to put some power back in the legs. Reinhard Janse van Rensburg is also in here, and is that Berhane who's also made it in?
And Cummings just at the front, definitely.
Wow. Well, Steve-O has sat at the back today. He's taken it easy. He's left everyone have the belief, and now he's got plenty himself. What a great job Dimension Data have done today. Battle plan par excellence. Well, it will be if Edvald Boasson Hagen makes it stick at the end of the day. 13 kilometres to go. When it says 10, then we'll be on our flattish section with our run in, and it will be pacey, you can believe that. So who's your pick today, Matt Stevens?
Well, I know who Team Dimension Data want, and that's the man just on your right-hand side, just on the edge of the bend there in the Norwegian Champions jersey. He's one of the fastest riders in this group. It'd be nice if we could drill down and see exactly the composition, but the other very, very quick rider there is, of course, the rider in red, and that's Peter Sagan. It could turn out to be a bit of a burn-up between those two riders, but there's a lot of other lone raiders in this group that may try and jump clear in the finish. It's going to be quite difficult for just two riders to control this group in the form of Natnael Berhane and Steve Cummings. But at the moment, that looks like Jan Bakkelands of AG2R who's decided to head to the front.
What an exciting finish we've got today. All the principals that you'd want to be here are. So you're going for Edvald Boasson, are you? They've certainly made the biggest pitch.
I'm going for Sagan.
All right, I'll go for Eddie. Here we go. Berhane kicks off, and it is this is marshalling duties for Edvald Boasson Hagen, but this is going to be the way of the ish right now. Big kick up, nasty traffic calming device that was unmarshalled, unmarked, nobody blowing any kind of whistle. And here is Sagan in the red jersey. Don't look for the rainbow stripes. He's by the barrier as we speak. And there is Edvald Boasson Hagen with a Norwegian flag upon his back. Who else is going to be a contender? Plenty today. We've probably got 40 riders here who've really got an option. And don't count out the aforementioned Simon Clark. I think he'd probably have to go quite long, but he is quick in a situation like this. The man from Cannondale in the green. Oh, they're rolling, and constant waves of attack coming right now, and marking this out is Kenyak.
Kenyak in third wheel there, Jakob Fuglsang in second, is Mirko Selvaggi of Androni-Giocattoli just on the front, the tallest rider by a long stretch in this race. We saw him attack the other day, he's looking very good at the moment, but this is an interesting move by Astana, willing to get involved in these attacks. Peter Kenyak, as I said, in third wheel, closely flanked by Steve Cummings of Dimension Data. This could be the course of events, could be the way the race pans out. Constant attacks, keeping this group clear, but I counted about 35 riders in that group, and now we've got somebody from Caruso on the attack.
Yeah, rolling waves of attacks. If you've got anything left in the bank, it's time to make your investment. And look at this, Nat Berhane is staying on his wheel. Dimension Data seem to be wise to just about everything today. Flicks the arm out and says, come on, let's do this together. Berhane picks up the challenge and says, okay, let's work together. For 8.4 kilometres to go, it's still tenuous to lead they have.
It is. I think it's Concalves from Portugal on his wheel, and the rider just trying to get across for Katusha is Tiago Machado. Moved across to Katusha from Bora last year. And Peter Sagan has also made it into that little group, and Peter Sagan is actually attacking on the right hand side.
But Darty it was as well, had a big look and a stare down and shaking the head and says no. And Simon Clark's in the mix here as well. There goes Sagan spinning it up. Who's he going to be with him? 8 to go. He can impose himself from this sort of distance. He's been quiet today, and look how they're struggling behind him to keep on his wheel, and how relaxed Sagan looks at a moment like this.
He looks extremely good. The flair and panache of this rider needs to be understood and respected. Glancing over his shoulder, he senses they're not going to want to turn to the line, so why not just confuse things? Why not try a little bit of attack, test the legs, see the sorts of teams that are going to try and respond. For the first time, there's a really good look at the race leader. Before Salvatore Puccio now tries a bit of an attack. This is an extremely interesting composition of this front group. And I think riders from a Trek factory, so Trek Segafredo, it's that man, Fabian Cancellara. He managed to hang on to the coattails of this group after that superb turn.
In that case, shred everything. If Fab's here, his nickname should have an exclamation mark behind it, because he is. 7.2 to go. So here we go into town, and frankly, it's a bit of a respite. You occasionally get this. I think some of the main contenders realise that they've probably given as much as they possibly can at this moment and need to hold something back. And you do start just easing off ever so slightly. Once you've done your teamwork job, you find yourself in a principal position. You've got to have something left. It's about measuring all your energy levels at a moment such as this. Well, still got Eddie Boss here. Sagan, of course, we know all about. And a lot of road space to, and a lot of staring going on as well as to who is going to engage.
Well, Salvatore Puccio has put in a great turn. It's quite deceptive. He's turning quite a high gear, low cadence, but very, very powerful indeed. He's taken his chance. We did see Fabian Cancellara try to bring him back. Then we've seen I don't think it was Bernardo, look, it was Roman Kreuziger trying to bring him back, and now we've got an attack from another rider from Androni-Giocattoli. Let's have a look at who that is. It looks like it's that is Angel Torres.
It is Torres, the Colombian. You'd expect that. Such huge waves of talent and Steve Cummings rocks over again as they come into town. You see the exit marker there, and he's going for this. Who's chasing on? Kaya Roral as well. Astana not to be denied. Nibali wants a piece of this. 6 to go. Steve-O looks remarkably fresh. He's not been overexerting himself over the last couple of days, but now he most certainly is. He's got a chance.
He certainly has. He's looking very, very good. He's not going to work with this group at all. Look, he just drops back off the wheel there, sits, gets onto the wheel of Puccio. Unless he can go clear himself on his own, he's certainly not going to help anybody else. It's all about trying to get Edvald Boasson Hagen across the line in first place. So basically, Steve Cummings at the moment is making sure they're representing the moves, but not helping them go clear, as well as dragging back any dangerous breaks.
Steve-O doing a great job of being an anchor to deny everybody. Nibali there with the Italian champion. There's Sagan wearing number 1. And
Jack Bauer is also there.
Jack Bauer also in the mix for Cannondale.
He's quick at the finish as well, Jack.
As he's got Clarkey as well, also in here. I'm not sure who is going to work for who for Cannondale. Both of whom on stellar form at the moment, and it's a big pickup. And as you can see, again, Cummings is wise to it, but with 5.2 to go, one of these may stick, you know.
It certainly is. It's Montaguti, the Italian rider for AG2R, but the only rider who's seemingly taking it on board to try and bring him back is Steve Cummings again. He's got a very, very full of fight Salvatore Puccio again for company, but Cummings will not go through with this rider. Salvatore Puccio is a very, very fast finisher indeed.
Big response.
So there we go. Cummings swings over to the right-hand side. You can just tell as they go into 5Ks to go. It's all about EVB for Dimension Data.
It is. Berhane, though, also from the same team, Dimension Data, in their black and white, is also trying to make the bridge here. 2-man anchor just to kill it off as Puccio starts asking for assistance. He's not going to get it, not from Cummings anyway. And here come the pack. 4.7 to go. It's going to be a pacey approach. And essentially, we are going to have a bunch sprint finish. It might be reduced, but only if these 3 make it, and well, I should say 2. Here, look at BMC going for it as well. TJ Van Garderen is in the house, by the way. Wow. Been in the saddle for 6 hours.
It certainly is. This is a real look. Puccio remonstrating with Montaguti. Steve Cummings shaking his head. He's just saying there's no way I'm going to ride. It's all about Edvald Boasson Hagen. But the thing is with Steve, he's a dangerous passenger to have on board. Montaguti drilling himself, happy to try and drive this group clear. The big teams have missed it. Movistar, BMC. And that's why we're seeing Movistar going on the attack to try and bridge that gap across to our 3 leaders.
No doubt about it. That's Jesse Sargent, I think, that's on a chase down here. The Kiwi. We'll see. 4.1 kilometres to go. Didn't quite get sight of him. But
Danny Moreno from
Moreno.
Danny Moreno, yeah.
Wow, there we are. 4.1 to go. Now, we said it wasn't technical, but it's going to be busy, and they're starting to weave. And Steve Cummings is having none of it. They can complain all they want. The
team orders, that's it.
I mean, exactly. Hard lines, mate.
It is.
All you have to say is team orders, and they understand. 3.9 to go. These are all pros. But I don't know. It may be poetry later on. Let's see. They might be allowed their ahead if this gap is maintained, because Edvald Boasson Hagen may well have just been given the release to these guys. And if that's the case, the most rested of the trio up front is going to be Cummings here. 3.7 remaining.
Well, think about Cummings' track craft. Think about his ability as an individual time trialist. He's looking fresh. He will not assist the chase.
Yeah, he's going for it. He's been let off the leash. That's Boasson Hagen saying, look, it's too close now. Steve-O, go for it. And he is. All of a sudden, and there is, of course, Berhane as well at the back of this group. Steve Cummings, believe me, is on it right now. It's great tracking. He knows how to impose himself. Bursts of speed. Really, really designs himself into a finish. He will have thought about this. They will have sketched this out in the morning. And it's a backup plan that could well suddenly become plan A.
Absolutely fantastic. I think the rider's just tried to launch himself across to try and catch the flying Steve Cummings, is in full time trial mode, but believe you me, this is one of the most difficult riders in the world to try and bridge to at this stage of the race. Young Backelens now swings off, gives up. Puccio doesn't go through. What an absolute sensational attack, turn of speed and use of timing by Steve-O Cummings.
Look at the cadence. They know that they got Berhane in here as well, who's also just marking time, and this man is going to make yet another mark. He's done it before. He likes to do it like this. You see him sitting at the back. He looks like the most overly relaxed, maybe too relaxed person within the peloton. He knows what days belong to him, and one I suggest of those is this one. Steve Cummings is rocking his way to victory today, and nobody seems interested or indeed able to chase him down with 2.2 to go.
Steve Cummings, a remarkably powerful bike rider, but you know, if you're going to apply power at the right times, you need intelligence, you need intellect on a bike, you need courage, you need bluffing tactics, and that's the way it is. He sat pretty, he waited in a completely justified manner, didn't want to try and bring anybody else clear, but when the moment came, that decisive moment that there was an opportunity to go clear on his own, he's taken it. But what he has an amazing engine, but timing, tactics and power combined to devastating effect. 1,800 metres to go.
Thank you very much, she says. These guys are sitting up there waiting to have their own sprint for the crumbs from the top table. And the man with the menu is Steve Cummings. What a fantastic performance. Tour de France, remember that? Heartbreak into Mende. In fact, didn't even make the front page of the sports press the following day. Cummings, 2 Grand Tour wins. He had one in the Vuelta in 2012. It was a long time coming, a big space in between those 2 victories. Well, he's got another one in very, very fine company. And this is going to be a huge fillip to Dimension Data. They're going to be asking him to do the same again. Not necessarily win it when it comes to the Milan-San Remo, but what a guy to have in your team. And this is the perfect boost to him and his confidence. He'll be absolutely cock-a-hoop with victory today. He just has to stay on the bike, and he's going to bring this one home. There's your Flamme Rouge. It's almost straight to the line. A gentle right-hander, but he's given a left hook and a knockout blow to just about everybody.
Steve Cummings now in full flight. There's just a couple of very gentle corners before the finish straight will open out. He's opened up a lead of at least 7, 8, 9 seconds over the chasing group behind. There is the amount of tarmac in between him and the chasers. It's set fair for an absolutely spectacular victory for this man from the Wirral, Steve Cummings of Dimension Data.
Well, fantastic. 500 metres to go, and after what we thought was going to be teed up to be a hugely combative bunch sprint, Steve Cummings played an absolute blinder. He decoded the day essentially. So did Dimension Data. Everyone was looking at Edvald Boasson Hagen, so were we. He was always there for Eddie Boss, who got on the radio and said, Steve-o, go for it, my friend. And that's precisely what he has done. Chapeau, Steve Cummings. He's got all the time in the world to design himself a celebration, and he just keeps it sensible. What a day. What a win. What a guy. Here they come, minor places.
It looks like the sprint is going to be taken by Jan Backland's Puccio, really trying in the centre of your team.
It might be
for Team Sky.
for Dimension Data.
Ooh, Puccio.
1 and 3, they'll have that. They will have that. Puccio across the line for Sky. I think it was Berhane that made it 1 and 3
yeah, I think
for Dimension Data. And here come the gang, led by Sagan, who is going to be nobody's fool. He's got to keep something in the tank, of course, not only for this race, but for Milan-San Remo. I think he knew, with the quality of those around him, similar riders to himself, that if he went for a punch-up, it may have been a split decision. Look at this. I am sure it's 1 and 3 for Dimension Data. 6 hours and 4 minutes in the saddle. And Steve-o has done it again. Wow.
Well, all the favourites today, they're outfoxed, outmanoeuvred and outpowered by the man from the Wirral. 34 years of age now, but one of them, again, very quiet, very likeable. It seemed for the last couple of days we had a lot to see of Steve Cummings, sat on the back of the bunch, but he knows exactly what to do in the closing stages. As you said a few moments ago, Carlton, he decoded the finale of that race. He read it absolutely perfectly, with plan A being victory, hopefully in a sprint for Edvald Boasson Hagen. It didn't play out that way. He waited, he took his moment, and once it opened up just 5 or 10 metres, there was nothing anybody else can do about it. Look at that. Absolutely spectacular win for Steve Cummings.
Well, he kept the arm warmers on. Maybe that's
a bit of wrinkly arm warmers there. Doesn't matter.
Arms outstretched. This one's mine. Terrific. Well, here's the chase on. Now, was it 1 and 3 for Dimension Data? Let's. It is MTN Quebecer, of course, reborn. So
very close there, Matt. Berhane might have just nudged Jan Backlands for 3rd place.
I think he did. We'll get the official result in just a few moments' time. No doubt about the winner, though. by a clear margin, Steve Cummings. Confirmation of the stage results, 1 and 3 for Dimension Data. Terrific result for them. Cummings takes it ahead of Puccio, did a lot of work for Team Sky. Berhane in third place ahead of Moreno of Movistar. Bacalance, Montaguti, Peter Sagan 7th, leading home Van Avermaet. But this man led everyone a merry dance. Another one for him to remember. He picks his days, and every one of those he selects, he seems to make them happen.
I think that was a real lesson in tactics, and what do you have to think about before he actually made his move? Although he was sat on the breakaway, the amount of time he spent on the front shutting down moves, and bearing in mind they've spent well over 6 hours in the saddle, but it was all about trying to get Edvald Boasson Hagen to the line in first place, and that's why we saw the real hard shepherding work, and that isn't easy, closing down numerous breakaways before then getting in the move of the day. And then he had to make, as Sean Kelly so often says, that kind of right calculation, but he executed it to absolute perfection. But he combined it again with tactical nous and just raw power as well. And it was interesting. We saw Montaguti try and close the gap to Cummings once he'd gone, but once he rounded that corner and started to really open up those afterburners, there was nothing anybody could do. Despite a real kind of concerted chase, he just opened up the gap.
Well, we've gone medieval, it seems, at least on the victory podium. Overall standings remain the same. Etixx Dibar is there ahead of Damiano, Caruso, Greg Van Avermaet, TJ Van Garderen in the frame, BMC close at hand, plenty of others still with a chance of victory. What a day, more to come. Of course, stage 5 tomorrow we head to